The universal language of nature is invisible, yet it is what connects all living beings into a single whole. In forests, tree roots are linked with fungal networks, forming a complex and interconnected system beneath the soil that scientists call the wood wide web. This network not only distributes water and nutrients, but also enables plants to exchange information. Plants communicate in two major ways: chemically, by releasing specific molecules, and electrically, by sending electrical signals similar to nerve impulses in animals and humans. For example, when insects attack, a tree generates an electrical signal that triggers defensive responses. This signal can travel through roots into the fungal network, reaching other trees. A similar effect was detected by scientists during a solar eclipse. The bioelectric signals of trees began to synchronize, forming a single impulse. The oldest trees responded first, as if they remembered such events, and were warning the younger ones. Through electrical signals, plants can coordinate their growth, warn each other of danger, adapt collectively to stress, and even store shared memory. It is precisely this finely tuned system that is now being disrupted by micro and nanoplastics. Today, forests have become vast reservoirs of microplastics. Research shows that forests capture microplastic from the atmosphere. As air currents pass through forests, they carry tons of microplastic particles. The forest functions as a massive filter. Tree canopies and leaves literally comb out particles from the air. In the past, this process helped purify the atmosphere from dust and dirt. Today, however, along with these natural particles, micro and nanoplastic are also being trapped. Unlike dust, which can become part of organic matter, plastic does not decompose. It remains in leaves, accumulates in soil, and persists in forest air. Every day, dozens of microplastic particles settle on each square meter of the forest canopy. Scientists estimated the annual deposition of microplastics in forest soils and showed that it correlates with the scale of plastic production in Europe. Assuming that atmospheric fallout is the primary source, they concluded that roughly 400,000 microplastic particles per square meter could accumulate in forest soil over a 70-year period. Charged particles distort bioelectrical signals and deprive forests of their ability to adapt and survive. Negatively charged nanoparticles penetrate plant roots more easily, disrupting nutrient absorption. As a result, growth slows down and root formation is impaired. In addition, electrostatically charged micro and nanoparticles of plastic adhere to leaves and penetrate plant cells, impairing photosynthesis. They damage chloroplasts, the energy centers of plant cells, the analog of mitochondria in animal and human cells. Prolonged exposure to micro and nanoplastics reduces the ability of plants to produce oxygen. Some of the world's forests, such as the eastern forests of the Amazon, are already emitting more carbon dioxide than they produce oxygen. Micro and nanoplastics can penetrate the brains of animals. Electrostatically charged plastic particles damage brain cells and disrupt the transmission of nerve impulses. This causes malfunctions in the nervous system, from reduced vision, hearing, and smell to impaired motor coordination. As a result, animals struggle to navigate, find food, avoid danger, and to communicate with one another. And all of this greatly reduces their chances of survival. These effects mirror the early signs of neurodegenerative diseases in humans. According to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, over the past 50 years, the global population of wild animals has declined by nearly 70%. People can't even protect those they've taken responsibility for. Household pets are also poisoned by micro and nanoplastics. Pet food contains PET, the same plastic used to make bottles. Moreover, microplastic particles have been found in the tissues of cats and dogs. Scientists analyzed tissue samples from 49 animals, 24 cats and 25 dogs, that had died of natural causes and found that more than 70% of them had microplastics present in multiple organs. The rate of insect extinction is 8 times higher than that of mammals, birds, or reptiles. The crisis is especially severe for pollinators, bees, whose role in ecosystems and agriculture is critical. Wild and domesticated bees pollinate 75% of agricultural crops and 90% of wild flowering plants. More than 30% of the world's food production depends on bees. Today, populations of honeybees and wild bees are declining rapidly. If this trend continues, half of all bee populations may disappear within the next decade. The disappearance of bees means the loss of the link that connects plants and food, nature, and humanity. Studies by Indian researchers have identified a correlation between microplastic pollution and declining populations of insects. Bees interact with their environment through electrical impulses. They navigate not only by scent, color, and flower shape, but also, remarkably, by sensing a flower's electric field. When a bee approaches a flower, they communicate through the electrical field. As bees fly, friction with the air gives their bodies a positive charge, while flowers, being grounded, carry a negative charge. This difference creates an electric field that allows pollen to transfer to the bee even before it lands. Experiments have shown that bees can distinguish flowers by their electric fields, associate specific electrical signals with the presence of nectar, and even determine a flower's freshness by the strength of its residual charge. After a flower has been visited, its electric field weakens, and other bees can read the signal that the flower contains less nectar. Moreover, the bee's own electric charge can stimulate a plant to release fragrance, attracting even more pollinators. Thus, an entire electrical communication system operates between bees and flowers. The electrostatic charge carried by micro and nanoplastics distorts these electrical impulses, affecting the bee's brain and nervous system. As a result, bees can no longer recognize flowers, locate nectar, find its way home, or identify members of their colony. Even the smallest doses of microplastics can be lethal to bees. Bees are covered in sensitive hairs and constantly interact with their environment, allowing plastic particles to settle on their bodies and easily penetrate them. One of the leading experts studying the impact of microplastics on insects is Professor Davida Baracchija, PhD in ecology and animal ethology, biologist, and head of the Cognitive and Behavioral Ecology Lab, B-Lab, at the University of Florence.
We already know from our studies and studies from other colleagues that, for instance, the microplastic can affect the gut microbiome. So if they feed with microplastics, this can generate dysbiosis, or the microbiota can be affected. In the same way, we found that it can affect the immune response. So both honeybees and bumblebees have a kind of immune depression, so they are not any longer able to fight infections. And they can also show altered behavior. So, for instance, again, learning and memory is affected, and polyethylene doesn't seem to harm too much honeybees, and polyestyrene had a strong impact not only on survival but also on learning and memory. So in our experiment, we really found that this polymer, concentration that we probably can find in environment, can actually impair memory formation and memory retrieval. And this is, of course, alarming because for honeybees, it's, as I said, it's very, very important to have a good learning and memory capabilities.
When microplastics enter a bee's body through food or air, they damage the intestine, disrupt metabolism and reproductive function, weaken the immune system, and alter their behavior. even to the point of losing the ability to navigate. Across the globe, scientists are observing an alarming trend. The number of wild birds is rapidly declining. In North America alone, over the past 50 years, approximately 3 billion birds have disappeared. That is a quarter of the entire bird population. Electrical signals play as vital a role in the lives of birds as they do throughout the entire biosphere. The avian nervous system functions through transmission of electrical signals from the brain to all parts of the body. Those impulses control movements of wings, tail, and body in flight, vision and coordination, cognitive responses, for example, evading predators, song and vocal communication. Birds are true living navigators capable of traveling thousands of kilometers and returning precisely to the same locations year after year. Scientists have discovered that many migratory birds use Earth's magnetic field for orientation. Imagine an airplane. A pilot sees a radar screen with lines and markers to avoid getting lost in the sky. For birds, their eyes serve as such a radar. Specialized molecules in their eyes detect both light and Earth's magnetic field, converting them into electrical signals. In the brain, those signals form an image with field lines superimposed on the real world. A bird simultaneously sees clouds, land, and its magnetic radar, allowing it to maintain course in any direction with ease. Electrostatically charged micro and nanoplastic particles entering a bird's body distort electrical impulses and disrupt functioning of its nervous system. This leads to loss of motor coordination, weakened memory and learning ability, and impaired vocalization and spatial orientation. Externally, this manifests as increasingly erratic flight, unstable behavior, and even softer, weakened chirping. Nestlings are especially vulnerable. Many do not survive to adulthood, and those that do often exhibit cognitive impairments. However, that's not all. Plastics damage the liver, kidneys, stomach, and brain of birds, causing symptoms that resemble Alzheimer's disease. Even birds that appear healthy lose the ability to adequately care for their partners and offspring, sharply reducing their chances of successful reproduction. Beneath the surface reigns a unique world where vision weakens and sounds become distorted. In such conditions, marine life perceives reality differently. Through electroreception, the ability to sense faint electric fields and navigate by them. Predators such as sharks can detect tiny electrical impulses produced by muscle contractions and the heartbeat of their prey. Even if a fish remains motionless and hidden in sand, its bioelectric signals reveal its location. All living organisms in water generate continuous bioelectric fields due to ion flow across their skin. Those fields are subtly altered when the animal moves or when another living being appears nearby. Electrical impulses are an inseparable part of life itself, even underwater. Electrostatically charged micro and nanoplastics can distort or block those signals, which makes marine creatures especially vulnerable. As a result, marine animals and fish lose their ability to accurately locate prey, avoid predators, and follow migration routes. This threatens their survival and leads to population declines. Furthermore, fish exposed to microplastics exhibit a wide range of toxic effects, from immune system dysfunction to altered blood composition. Signs of neurotoxicity, growth retardation, and reduced reproductive capacity have also been documented in fish. All processes in the biosphere rely on extremely subtle electrical impulses. It is these impulses that become distorted by electrostatically charged micro and nanoplastic. Micro and nanoplastics have already permeated every environment and integrated into all ecosystems. The examples given here represent only a small part of a global problem. Disruptions are occurring throughout the biosphere without exception, and the outcome is the same everywhere. Distortion of signal transmission, breakdown of biological connections, malfunction of living systems, and ultimately, the death of life itself. Micro and nanoplastics are everywhere, and everything they touch is slowly dying.
Charged micro and nanoplastics disturb the natural biological impulses that form the very foundation of life. Gradually, they erode the mechanisms that allow the biospheres to exist and interact. This decay begins from within, slowly, almost imperceptibly, yet inevitably. Even what appears healthy and alive today is already contaminated by micro and nanoplastics. Today, so many of these particles have already accumulated on our planet that they will be enough to destroy the entire biosphere several times over. And their numbers continue to grow each day. Nature is not merely a habitat. It's our breath, our nourishment, and our protection. Humanity can survive without technology, but not without air, water, and living organisms. When life on Earth dies, humanity dies with it. The truth is that we do not exist separately from nature, no matter how much we try to convince ourselves otherwise. We're part of it.